So if we're talking about the order of operations, that tells us, so operations are add, subtract, multiply, divide. It tells us which order we need to do it in. There are 4 steps in the order of operations. And the problems can get complicated, but since there are only 4 steps, if you keep following these 4 steps in order, no matter what, you will get the answer right every time. First, we have parentheses. Sometimes you will see brackets. Sometimes you'll see little braces. They all have the same function. They're just different ways to group expressions together. Our second step is to evaluate all the exponents. So if we have 3 to the power of 2, then you know that means 3 times 3, or 9. The next 2 steps are a little bit confusing sometimes because you multiply and divide in the same step, whichever comes first, going left to right. Similarly, you add and subtract in the same step, doing whichever comes first, left to right. So let's look at this problem here. And we read the parenthesis parts as the quantity of. So I would read this out. So we have a big set of parentheses. We have parentheses within parentheses, or nested parentheses. So I'd read this out. The quantity of 18 minus 5 minus the quantity of 14 times 7 squared plus 6 squared. You could also say to the power of 2 and 6 to the power of 2 squared, or power of 2 mean the same thing. We start with parentheses first, and I like to answer one part at a time. Which parentheses would I do first? The subtraction parentheses or the division parentheses? Division comes before subtraction. So I'm going to do 14 divided by 7, and that is 2. I'm going to write everything else down so I won't mess up my problem. Quantity of 18 minus 5, we're subtracting 2, and the 2 is squared because this was inside the parentheses, that is outside. And then this parenthesis is coming down here, plus 6 squared. Now we do parentheses again. In parentheses, are we going to do the inside parentheses or the exponent? You'll always start with the inside parentheses first. 18 minus 5 is 13. So I'm going to write down everything one step at a time so I won't get mixed up. 13. We still have our parentheses, minus 2 squared, close the parentheses, plus 6 squared. Okay, we're still on parentheses because we had nested parentheses. It takes a little bit longer. So in the parentheses, am I going to subtract first or evaluate the exponent first? You can see exponents come before subtraction. So 2 squared, or 2 to the power of 2, is 2 times 2, and I know that's 4. So we have, in parentheses, the quantity of 13 minus 4 plus 6 squared. We're still doing parentheses. Parentheses comes before exponents. 13 minus 4 is 9 plus 6 squared. Should I add first or do exponents? Exponents come before adding. Exponent is 2 whole steps before adding. So back over here. 6 squared, or 6 times 6 is 36. Now we have 9 plus 36, so what is that, 45? And I always draw a box around my final answer because look at that big mess. It's just easier to see the answer when you draw a box around it. Order of operations. Any kind of grouping symbol, parentheses, brackets, braces. If there are nested parentheses, parentheses inside parentheses, you could even have parentheses, inside parentheses, inside parentheses. Start inside, work your way out. You'll have to go slow, do it one step at a time. But if you do it one step at a time, underline what you're evaluating, write your problem down step by step. You'll get the problems right if you follow those 4 steps.